I didn't say a word when the HOA president jabbed her finger at the plat map she printed in color from the county's website. She was calling me a trespasser on my own porch, shouting that my cabin sat on common property. I just laid my folder flat on the table, slid out the original deed with its crisp black boundary lines, and let their lawyer read the description. Watching the color drain from his face was almost enough to make up for the 2 years of harassment that had led to that moment. Almost. The truth is, I never set out to fight anyone. I came here for quiet. The cabin wasn't even mine to begin with. It belonged to my grandfather, a little pine and cedar place on the edge of a lake he used to fish when I was a kid. After he passed, the cabin sat empty for a while. Life got busy. Jobs shifted. My family scattered. When things finally slowed down for me, I thought I'd fix it up, maybe use it for weekends, and eventually as a full-time retreat. It was a simple dream. Mornings with coffee on the deck, evenings chopping wood, the smell of pine needles in the air. I wasn't trying to join committees or police anyone's lawn ornaments. The first few months were bliss. I'd drive up Friday night, spend Saturday hauling out old furniture and sanding down beams, and by Sunday I'd take a canoe out just to drift. No noise but the wind and the occasional loon. The neighbors seemed polite enough, though I noticed early that conversations cut short when the HOA board members walked by. I shrugged it off. I wasn't looking for drama. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a bright orange notice taped to my garage door. According to the HOA, I was in violation for unauthorized use of common area. The notice claimed my driveway, which had been in the same spot since the 1950s, wasn't actually mine. They said it was a shared strip, the association maintained. I remember standing there with the paper in my hand, laughing a little at the absurdity. The driveway connected directly to my deeded parcel, poured by my grandfather before the HOA was even incorporated. But the tone of that notice called authoritarian, almost gleeful stuk with me. I didn't want to start a fight. I emailed the board politely, explaining the property history and attaching a scan of the old survey ID found in my grandfather's papers. Their reply came 2 weeks later. A fine. A fine for illegal encroachment on HOA land, as if my cabin were some outlaw squatting operation. I tried again, sent another email, asked if we could meet in person. No response. Then the fines started doubling, and when I drove up one Friday evening, I found a chain across my driveway with a padlock. That was the moment I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. They were testing me. I spent that night pacing inside the cabin, listening to the lake lap against the shore. I wasn't angry, not in the way they probably wanted me to be. What I felt was a cold, steady clarity. If they wanted to make this about land, then land records would be my battleground. That's when I stopped emailing and started reading. Over the next several months, my weekends transformed. Instead of sanding beams, I was in the county recorder's office, asking for plat maps and digging through microfilm reels. I ordered copies of the subdivision's original charter, the bylaws, and every amendment filed since the 1970s. I drove to the state archive and found the military reclamation orders that temporarily seized land in the region during the Cold War. Fact I suspected the HOA had no idea about. I photocopied everything, highlighted, cross-referenced. I kept a spiral notebook where I logged every fine, every letter, every voicemail. My neighbors grew distant. Some wouldn't look me in the eye at all, afraid of being next on the board's list. My sister told me I was obsessed. Maybe I was, but it was the kind of obsession that builds a wall brick by brick. What I eventually discovered made my pulse quicken in a way I hadn't felt since I was a teenager, sneaking into forbidden places. The HOA's plat map Taveri, one they waved around at meetings, was incomplete. They had based their common area claim on a redrawn survey from the early 2000s, which conveniently ignored a small but critical clause in the original deed. My grandfather's parcel was explicitly described with metes and bounds that included the so-called common strip. Not only that, but the HOA's incorporation documents admitted they had no authority over parcels established before their formation in 1978. My cabin was one of only 3 such parcels. In other words, their entire claim was built on sand. I didn't rush to show my hand. I spent another 6 months quietly gathering proof. I pulled aerial photos from the county dating back to 1961, showing my grandfather's driveway in the exact same spot. I got a notarized statement from an old neighbor who remembered helping him pour the concrete. I even managed to find a copy of the original timber company lot sale that confirmed the boundaries. By the time I was done, my binder was 2 inches thick. So when the day came, when they called me in front of the board yet again, I wasn't nervous. I sat there while the president barked about trespassing and removal of unapproved structures. Their lawyer kept glancing at his notes, clearly briefed only by the board's version of the story. That's when I slid the deed across the table. Teorino, with its clear, unbroken boundary line. I didn't need to say a word. The lawyer's lips moved silently as he read the description, tracing it with his finger. His face drained of color. The room went quiet. The president stammered, trying to regain control. But everyone could see it. Their entire campaign against me had just collapsed under the weight of paper and ink, older than their HOA itself. The aftermath wasn't explosive, it was more like the slow unraveling of a badly knit sweater. Within 2 months, the fines disappeared from my account. 3 board members resigned, citing personal reasons. Word spread quietly among the neighbors that the board had been caught overreaching. A lawsuit from another homeowner followed soon after, emboldened by my case. Eventually, the HOA was forced to amend its bylaws, stripping itself of authority over several parcels it had long claimed. Their power shrank, their arrogance shriveled. As for me, the cabin feels different now. When I drive up, no chains block the driveway. Some neighbors wave, others look away. I don't mind either way. The silence is what I came here for, and I finally have it again. The cabin is mine, the land is mine, and the proof sits in a binder on my shelf, should anyone ever try again. Sometimes I flip through it, not out of fear, but as a reminder. Quiet strength, properly aimed, can break louder things than anger ever could. Now, when I sit on the porch with a cup of coffee and hear the lake at dusk, I smile at the thought. They once called my home common area. Funny, isn't it? It's never been more mine.